morning. Welcome. I love the chatter. Very good. Welcome to our State of the County. Can everybody hear me? Perfect. Good. So I hope you enjoyed your breakfast. I would like to do a shout out to Dignity Health, Mark Twain Center, for sponsoring us and paying for your breakfast. My name is Sherry Roosh, and I am the president of the Calaveras Chamber of Commerce. And I would like to invite Doug Archer to come up and say a few words to welcome you.
Thank you, Sherry. Doug Archer, Mark Twain Medical Center. You might see me on the agenda for the end of the show as well, so I won't say too much right now other than how exciting it is to see such a good turnout. I think we all know, being from a small county like Calaveras, small town, basically the success of each of us is really related to the success of all of us. So to see all of you showing up and just showing interest and leaning into this county is a pretty exciting thing. So thanks for being here. Thanks to all the sponsors, and thanks to the chamber. And thanks to the food servers for giving us some nice food this morning. So I will see you at the end of the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. All right, I'd like to invite our District 1 Supervisor, Gary Toffanelli, for a thought for the day.
Good morning, everybody. It's a great morning we have out there. It's not hot this time of year. Generally here it's very hot. And I've been asked to say a prayer this morning. However, I called Sherry last night and had a conversation with her. Recently, a week ago, a longtime business person in our county passed away, and the family is well known in the county. It's been in the county for many, many years. So if everybody could please stand. In honor of Fred Lavaroni, I would like to take a moment of silence. Thank you. And if you did know Fred, Fred was a very, very, very good person. Very good. I've known him for years, and very nice person, and a very good business person as that goes. So, thank you.
Anthony Eberhardt, would you please come up and lead the pledge for us?
Good morning. If I can get everybody to stand up, face the flag, please. Ready, salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Great. Our first speaker this morning is our Senator, Maria Alvarado Gil. She serves District 4 and covers and represents Calaveras County. We're super excited to have her. Please give it up for our Senator.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I can't think of a better way to get to know Calaveras County than to have breakfast with many of you. See some new faces today, some faces that I saw at the fair and over the past year of being here in Calaveras, so thank you all for being here today. I have the honor to represent Senate District 4, which is 13 counties wide. I'm your neighbor in Amador County. I live in Jackson, just over the Butte Mountains. And I'll tell you, this first year in office has been just a wonderful experience. I truly, truly believe that we have the best part of California in Senate District 4. I cover from Truckee all the way down the eastern backbone of California into Death Valley, with the majority of our district being agricultural, small businesses, ecotourism, and just some of the most phenomenal economic stimuli area for food growth, manufacturing, and businesses. So thank you for having me here today. I want to talk a little bit about our first year, but I also want to thank our chambers for being such great partners, not only in Sacramento, but throughout the district. Our business community has come out fierce and furious to ensure that in Sacramento we're making great decisions for all of you and turning around California. The reason that I got into this business was really, for personal reasons, and I'll say that, I have 6 children, not all from this body, but not all aging between 19 and 28, and not a single one of them can afford to buy a home in California. Not a single one of them can afford to open their businesses. And my husband and I have worked hard to send them to school and help them find their wings. But there's a problem when, as a grandmother, I have a 2-year-old grandson, I'm worried about whether or not I'm going to see my grandson grow up here, right? And I'm born and raised here in California. Back when we had apple or apricot orchards and cherry trees in our backyard, and that was in Silicon Valley. That's no longer here, right? My dad went up north in Siskiyou and said, forget this, I'm farming up north, and I moved into the Sierras. But the reason I bring this up is because my story is not unique, right? This is the California that we see now 30, 40 years later, but it's not the California that we want moving forward. So I came to the legislature after opening several successful charter schools throughout the Bay Area and in the Central Valley, and decided to be a great opportunity for me to retire early and get my goats and chickens and all the wonderful things that we do out here in the Sierra foothills. And my husband jokingly said, hey, you should run for office. And I said, yeah, you're right, I should, right? So here I am in front of you, probably the most business-friendly, moderate voice in the supermajority in Sacramento. It takes a lot of courage to stand up to the special interests that are continuing to drive our economy here in California down into the gutter. That's right, I said it, into the gutter. But I will continue to do that, and I'm very happy to continue to support our business community, and just want to talk a little bit about our legislative package that we were able to put forward. Hopefully this is some good stuff here for Calaveras. I will say throughout the state budget, I was able to bring over $53 million in direct funding to fill critical needs across our district, including, this is a surprise, so don't spoil it, funding for our Calaveras Animal Shelter that we will be gifting today as well. I met Supervisor Tofinelli after the floods here in Calaveras, and he walked me around some of the communities that were hardest hit. And we were able to connect very quickly. My focus on my legislative package this year, which is in front of the governor now, is around wildfire mitigation, watershed preservation, expansion of healthcare services, and their critical infrastructure. So I'm very happy that we've got some bills, our first set of bills in front of the governor. He doesn't like me too much, but I'm hoping that he won't take it out on our district. So we're looking forward to making that happen. I will also say that one of the greatest pleasures that I've had this year is being on our county fair circuit at Calaveras County, I will say. I was my first fair of the 13 counties, and I won a prize. I jumped my first frog. I hosted my first Capital Frog jumping, and I won a prize for the shortest jump. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. But you know what? You don't want to look a gift frog in the mouth, because it could be your prince. So I'm here in front of you as your state senator. I'll be serving you for 4 years, hopefully 8 and 12 after that. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to being part of the Calaveras Chamber community. Thank you.
Wonderful. Next up is District 1 Supervisor Gary Toffanelli.
Thank you, Sherry. I got to get my notes here. Last week, I attended a public Calaveras Health Summit. It was for public health. And Colleen Rodriguez from Public Health did a great job with a PowerPoint. And some of the information was very good information, I thought. And I thought I'd bring some of it forward here today. Part of that was, and it has to do, since we're the chamber function and businesses, Calaveras unemployment rate, according to the EDD, state EDD, is at 4.6, which is a very good number because compared to our region, it's at 6%. And the state as a whole is at 4.8, so we're below all of those. So we are very lucky that we have a lot of people here that are employed. I can't say they're all employed in Calaveras because a lot of the other end of this end of the county goes the other way into the valley to work, but they're employed. And I think that's a good thing that here in Calaveras that we have that kind of number for unemployment. One of the other numbers that came out is Calaveras high school graduation rate. It's at 90%. California as a whole is at 87%. And the United States as a whole is at 86%. So we're above all of those. So it's kudos, Scott, and all your work when you were at Board of Education. And now with Bret Hart, that other school district. And then this going forward this Tuesday, I don't know if everybody watches any of the board meetings, but we did final budget last meeting, and coming forward on our next meeting on the 26th on Tuesday, we will be proving the final budget. And some of the highlights, I've been involved in the county for a long time, and going back to 2008, 2009, when the recession hit. You're not supposed to say recession, but it was a recession. Calaveras was put in a situation because we're a subsidiary of the state, and at that time the state needed money, and so we weren't getting, generally we get about 17% of all property tax back to the counties, and we weren't getting that, and we were being delayed. So our budget started going south, and we had to start using one-time money to fill the gap, and that's called a structural deficit. Although it's not really a deficit, it's called a structural deficit because you're using non-ongoing funding, a funding stream. And it got quite high over the course of the years, and last year at this time, for the 22-23 budget, we had a $9.4 million structural deficit. On Tuesday, we will be approving a budget that has a $2.46 million structural deficit. So within a year, we've been able to reduce that down from 9.4. And I got to thank all of department heads, all of staff, and admin, and Teresa, and even going back to interim Craig Cradro for reducing this deficit, and the board working very hard to do so. I think it's very possible by mid-year we could be down to zero. It just depends on how things go because of the way funding is in government agencies. You have to fund positions whether they're filled or not. If you have positions open and you're recruiting for positions, in your budget you have to fund those at the beginning of it. So we do see a lot of money coming back at the end of the year based on the fact that we didn't fill a lot of those positions, and that funding will come back to us at the end of the year. And so some of that rollover has been happening. And last year, coming into this year, we had a rollover. Although we had a $9.4 million structural deficit, we got $8.5 million at the end of the year that wasn't spent. So we was able to utilize that. But just because the way funding works in government, it's not the same as you and your funding. And a lot of times, a lot of the money that we get, we utilize, we can only use it for certain things. But I got to say, in all the years that I've been in the position I am, the county as a whole is looking very good. We're looking, the board is working very well together. We're getting things done, and I'll go into some of the things that we are working on. But before I do that, I want to get into more of the budget. Included in the budget for capital improvement projects, there is $4.35 million for a new animal shelter. And the animal shelter, since I've been on the board, has been talked about and talked about and talked about. But this board moving forward is moving forward on that project. It's in design stage right now. And we should see that final design possibly coming to us this year, by the end of this year, 2023. Maybe at mid-year, we should see that along with the district attorney's office. The district attorney's office, in this budget, we have $5.2 million designated for the new district attorney building, which is also in the design stage. And that should be coming to us too. But getting back to the animal shelter, I've got to thank Senator Alvarado Gil. She secured $200,000 for our animal shelter from the state funds. So a big round of applause for her for what she's done. And I'll be having lunch with her later on today, and I'll ask for about the additional 3.5 we need for the, so just so you know. A little bit about Wagon Trail. Wagon Trail, we had some issues on. We were moving along pretty good, but we ran into some unforeseen things that had to do with cultural artifacts, and it kind of put the brakes on us. We ran into several areas that were very heavily populated with all these artifacts, and you have to document those. You have to have a team to document those and take them out and clear it, and then have it be cleared by the state before you can move on. And it takes some time and it takes money to do that. But we are back under construction now, and we are on the agenda for the Calaveras Transportation Commission for additional funding going forward, and that would be in October. I'm meeting with the vice chair on October 2nd of the CTC to discuss it, but we have Caltrans behind us, not only District 10, but the state Caltrans department is behind finishing this project. So I believe we are in good standing to be able to get the rest of the funds to finish phase 1 and then move on to phase 2. And phase 1 should be completed by this time next year. That whole phase should be completed, and be moving on to phase 2, which is in easement right-of-way right now, and utilities clearing. So we should be able to, if we get the funding, to move right into that and finally get that final piece of Highway 4 here in Calaveras County completed. And it's very vital. It's part of the evacuation plan. Right now, people are very, don't like to drive that highway. They'd rather take Highway 49 and on down to get out of the county, because it is very dangerous, and especially if you're trying to get out quickly, it's not really a good road to travel. But hopefully that'll be taken care of, and it'll be used but not only by our people, but by the tourists coming up here. A lot of tourists do not take that highway. They take, again, Highway 12 up to Highway 49 and come into the county. But that project is moving forward, and I'm very happy about that, because I think it's very vital to our county to finish that final leg off. Also on Tuesday's agenda, there are 3 items, And these items we've had a lot of people come to the board. The sheriff came to the board and said that he is losing officers and deputies to other counties that are paying a lot more. And when we look at the numbers, he's correct. We are putting them through training and the academy. They're coming here, they're working a little while, and then they're moving on to higher paying jobs in other counties. So 3 items are on our agenda: giving a 10% salary increase to the sheriff recruits and trainees, deputy sheriffs 1 and 2, the sheriff corporals, sheriff sergeants, the lieutenants, the correctional lieutenants, captains, and the undersheriff positions. With that money and that funding coming from, and I got to thank Sheriff DiPasilio for working with us to get the funding to be able to do this and move forward and be able to secure more deputies in our county so our county is a safer place to be. He is, right now, according to HR, we're down 14 deputies right now. And that's very difficult because that's a lot of overtime that's being worked by our deputies out there trying to keep us safe. We get those additional 14 here, it's going to reduce those hours for them and have more deputies out there. So when you make a call, they will respond quickly. The strategic plan. I got to tell you, I've been on the board for a number of years, and I probably have been involved in or seen at least 6 or 7 strategic plans. It seems like every time we get a new CAO, a new strategic plan has to come in. They don't like the old strategic plan. So we never followed through on a lot of the strategic plans before. But a couple of meetings ago, we had a presentation by admin on where we are on the current strategic plan. And this strategic plan was adopted by the board on December 22nd last year, 2022. And I can go into a lot of it. There's a lot of things that are involved in the strategic plan. I don't have a lot of time to do it because I could probably take an hour or 2 like Jamie did going through it. But again, for the years I've been involved, this is very positive to the county. We are moving along on a strategic plan very quickly. And every area, there's 5 areas, strategic plan focus areas. That's safety and health, safety and healthy communities, a balanced economy, a workforce excellence, resource stewardship, and infrastructure. And every one of those 5 areas we have progressed very well in. We've touched base on every one of them, and we're moving along. Now, this is a 3-year strategic plan. We're only in the first year. I believe by the next year at this time, we will be focusing on maybe even expanding that because we've moved so far ahead on this strategic plan, and it's a good thing. It gives focus to all of the departments and all of staff and what we're trying to get accomplished as a county as a whole. It's very vital, and again, over the years, thinking back of the strategic plans that we had that never really got off the ground, I got to thank admin staff and county staff and department heads for focusing on this plan and moving it forward. I can't thank them enough. Again, I will say that the current board is working together very well. In all the years and the boards that I've been on, there's been several that were kind of crazy and they were very difficult to be on and work on and trying to get things accomplished. But I think this board is focused and came together, and even though we don't agree on all issues, which is human nature and our outlook, we move on to the next item. We don't hold against each other, which has happened many times in the past, and it just doesn't end up working out well, and you have to be on that board for the 4 years you're elected. And but this board is working very well. One of the better boards I've worked on in the years that I've been. And I think that's very good, and that's good for the department heads, that's good for the county, and it's good for admin, because they can focus on what needs to be done to carry the county forward. So I tell you, it's very good at this point. We will be together at least till the end of 2024. I can't tell you, Jack has resigned. He will be moving on after 2024. I'm up for re-election, and Amanda's up for re-election. So I can't tell you at the end of 2024, going into 2025, what's going to happen. But I can tell you that we will be focused, this board will be focused on moving this county forward in a positive direction. And I got to thank admin and Teresa for the great job in the short time she's been here that she's done. She has done a tremendous amount of reaching out to the departments, whether they're elected or appointed, and helping them in any way she can, along with her department and Marcos, have just, I can't say enough to them. So if we can give them a little bit of an applause. And Calaveras County staff and department heads also, all of them. Great job. One other thing I wanted to touch base on moving forward is I think it's a positive aspect and will be when it's completed. And I don't know if everybody knows that Caltrans has a shop project in San Andreas. If you've noticed over the years, they've paved on either side of it. They've paved 49. They've done everything but down through St. Charles Street in San Andreas. Beginning next year, in March or April, they will be repaving St. Charles Street, and they will be completely taking out the asphalt that's there and removing the crown. They kept saying they can't pave it because of the crown. Well, they will be redoing it and taking that crown out, and that whole highway through there, St. Charles Street, will be reconstructed with sidewalks from Pool Station Road to Toyanza. And there will be trees planted, there will be light structures. We're in negotiations and trying to get PG&E out there right now because we have Rule 20A money, which is part of money when you pay your bill goes into Rule 20A to put everything underground. So that money is already dedicated for PG&E to put all the cables underneath, so you will have no overhead electrical lines. All the utilities should be going underground too. So you will not recognize, based on the plan, I've got 3 minutes. I just got carded. But I'm colorblind. That looked green, not red. I mean yellow. So, but you will not recognize St. Charles Street and what it's going to look like when they finish it. All the years that it's been how it has been, it will be very good. There will be new parking areas. There will be new bus stops. There will be new crosswalks that will have flashing lights on them. It's a very good project, and again, it's going to take them 2 years to do it. So just so you're aware, the traffic could be up and down for the course of the next 2 years. But when they're finished, you will just love what's going to happen in San Andreas and our government center. It's one of the final pieces after we did Jeff Tuttle Drive and we did repaved Mountain Ranch Road and several other things that we've done there. It will be a very nice government city that you come into and be very proud of. So I want to thank everybody and thank you, the Chamber, for having me here. And hopefully I didn't miss anything. And I got how many minutes left? 30 seconds. I was going to ask if anybody had a question. Nobody had a question? Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And for those of us who work in San Andreas, we are looking forward to those improvements. All right, next up we have Tom Hicks from Copper Valley Development.
Good morning, everyone. First, I want to thank the Chamber for the invitation. When I got that invitation about a month or two ago, I said we're not really ready for prime time for the presentation we really want to do, which was about the town square, focused on what we're doing there. But so we have just kind of a quick overview of what we have here in Copper Valley, or Copperopolis, I should say, and kind of what our plans are for the big picture. We're here for the long haul. I've been involved in Calaveras County since '98. We acquired a piece of property here, so moved up here 5 years ago when we acquired the holdings from Castle and Cook. Left the Bay Area, Los Altos Hills, and I got to tell you, you couldn't pay me enough money to go back. So I love it up here, love the lifestyle. Our goal here is to create that similar lifestyle, keeping this rural community rural, but at the same time bringing some things that are badly needed here. Want to thank Verona 18. We were fortunate to get Eduardo here about a year ago in May. It's made a big improvement for those who haven't had an opportunity to come here and try the restaurant. I think it'd be a great idea for you to do that. It's a great improvement from what we've had in the past, and she's done a fabulous job. So I want to thank her and thank her for the breakfast. And Doug, thank you for hosting the breakfast this morning. So go ahead. Quick overview. We have too much property here, but it's going to take a long time. Thank God I'm only 26, so I can see this through. That's developer years. So we obviously have the town square up at the top. We have Sawmill. No particular plans for that property yet. We're here at the golf club, and we have the 890-acre property here. Approvals for 1,349 units. There's 549 vested lots today that are improved. We're building a community called Quail Creek. If you haven't been out there, you might want to check out what we're doing there. It's a long process. We'll be here quite a while doing this, and about 800 new homes. Ultimately, 1,349 is what it's approved for. You know, will that be built to that? Who knows? Castle and Cook had the 1,770-acre property they call Copper Valley Ranch. At one point, they had plans for 2,400 units. In the new general plan, that property is designated for only 88 units, which we're happy with. It's no problem. It's going to be primarily an equestrian area, open for trails, public trails, and for the community. So we're working on those plans now. I acquired what we call Tuscany Hills property, like I said, back in 1998, 1,118 acres, with about 4 miles of frontage along the Lake Tulloch, rather. And at one point, when we got the approvals in 2007, it had a golf course component, a Nicholas signature course. We're removing that, making it even more rural, adding some vineyards. So totally different plan. We're probably a year or more out for the revised plan. So that's the goal for that property. It'll be a nice addition to the golf club here, and but no golf component to that. So, our focus really was on the town square. When we acquired the property from Castle and Cook, they were about a third built out. It was approved for 233,000 square feet, but half of it was empty at the time, and the other half wasn't paying rent. So it had been a challenge, but our goal was to make that improvement first. We're 100% leased at this point in time. We were really fortunate to bring Doug and Dignity Health in, which was really needed here in the community. They've done a great job. We have the 29-room Gateway Hotel that we basically redid a commercial component there and turned that into a boutique hotel. If you haven't been there, please come check it out. There are 15 existing condos that were already sold when we purchased. So the project was approved for 84 residential units. We've reduced that number down. We're going to be building 38 townhomes here shortly, sometime next year. Our main focus right now is working with CCWD on the sewer line that was long overdue. So we're about 70–80% there on the plans for that, and that'll be hopefully under construction here pretty soon. Go ahead. Again, the Gateway Hotel. Next. What we're excited to share this morning, again, this is not totally ready for prime time yet, but is our plans for the town square. So we're calling this area Miners Camp. The idea is to kind of create something that looks like it was created prior to the stuff that's already there, a little bit playing Disneyland, which Castle and Cook kind of created that for us. So, but there'll be some commercial components. We're really excited about number building 15 there, which is an entertainment facility, which will have indoor golf, 18-hole miniature golf, some kids arcade upstairs, which is really badly needed for kids around the area here. There's 44 new bungalow-style units that go along with the Gateway Hotel, and some commercial retail areas. Not all the buildings are designed yet. Building 13, we're working with a group out of the Bay Area for a microbrew, so we're getting close to cementing that relationship. These are artist renderings. It's a little hard, but the concept for, we call it Building 1112. It's just a purely retail building. We just got this approved with CCWD recently. It's just pure retail. It's again trying to make it look like it was built prior to the stuff that's already in the town square. Again, kind of a poor picture there, but the actual building will be much more rustic looking than what's depicted here. This is Building 15. This is the entertainment building, again with indoor golf, escape rooms upstairs, and a kids arcade, and a kind of a bar similar to Columbia, kind of an old-fashioned bar on the far end. That's the rear of that, and this is Building 13. This is the building for the microbrew. There's 44 new units that we're doing for the Gateway Hotel. These will be bungalow style. Because of the entertainment facility that we're building, we figure we're going to bring in more families. The current Gateway Hotel doesn't really accommodate families or single rooms. So this we have, go to the next slide. Go ahead. This one kind of creates a hospitality suite with a bedroom on either side, so someone can rent one or two or all three together if they have a family. And a similar project to, or concept rather, than what we did down at a project I developed south of San Jose called Cordoval. In that particular place, we had 4 units surrounded by a hospitality facility. So real common to golf course projects, but something here in the town square. We think focusing on the entertainment facility we're building, that'll be a good project for families. Again, this is the townhomes we're building. There's 38 of those. We're starting the first phase of 22. Goal is to create kind of a price point that makes it a little bit more affordable. 1,200 to 1,700 square foot units, starting at 400 to 600,000. Again, these are on the southern part of the town square. Castle Cook previously had 24 condos there, and we're kind of changed up the plan. These are a townhome product. So. The golf course was built, I think it opened in '96, so it's due for some renovation. We're just finished up plans for about a $4.5 million renovation to the golf course that will start maybe the end of next year to the beginning of '25, focusing on the bunkers and the greens ultimately. So a big project, and unfortunately a lot of money to have to be spent to bring the golf course up to the standard that it should be. Clubhouse here, there's some additional plans for a little bit of expansion here, mainly closing off the room behind us here on both sides and adding that to the restaurant component and expanding the banquet facilities here a little bit. Here's the master plan. We're working on this project down here, Quail Creek. Our next one is Prominence, which again will be 15 to 1,800 square feet, maybe 2,000 square foot projects. We're working on a final map for that now. And this is a Quail Creek product. We have 2,200, 2,400, and 2,600 square foot homes that are in a 55 unit subdivision here on the western portion of the property. Sawmill, no real plans for Sawmill yet. It's 243 acres adjacent to the town square. And the 1,770 acre parcel, as I mentioned, Castle Cook had plans for 2,400 units. In addition to the Oak Canyon project that was approved for 3,500 units in the past, that was redone and put into conservation. This again is when and if it's ever developed is only allowed in the general plan for 88 units. So primarily open space and walking and hiking trails. Tuscany Hills, as I mentioned earlier, is on the lake and has approval already for 335 homes and a swamp arena at the lake there, but again, revising those plans, and we hope in the next year or two that we'll submit those for a revised plan, removing the golf course out of that. Kind of a Tuscan-style development there. Again, just finalizing all the plans for that, but we're excited at some point here in the next year or two to get that out in the community. So that's what we're up to, and thank you again for for being here this morning and appreciate your support. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for your vision for this, for copper. Next up is Lisa Medina, Calaveras County Environmental Health Manager.
Thank you, Sherry. Well, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody can see me. Usually when I'm in front of the board, I always have to either lower that mic or try to stand on my tippy toes. So thank you to the Calaveras Chamber for welcoming me and inviting me to speak today. So I recognize a few people in the audience, but my name is Lisa Medina, and I'm the Environmental Management Agency Administrator. I also wear several other hats. I'm the Environmental Health Director, Animal Services Director, and also I serve as the Air Pollution Control District Officer for Calaveras County. But, you know, behind any type of leadership, we have the people that make us want to lead, and that's, I can't thank enough people, you know, for the staffing and people that I have under me. So each one of our department's goals and main objectives is to provide services to our community and to our constituents and our stakeholders and business operators. We do that through a variety of programs under each one of our departments. So being that I only have about 10 minutes to speak, I'm going to try to cover a little bit on each department. And the first one is our agricultural department. We have Jessie Fowler, who is our agricultural commissioner and weights measures, and she leads that team with her expertise, and she is phenomenal. Actually, she does a really good job. She has several programs under her belt and under her umbrella, including pest detection, pest management, pest eradication, pesticide use enforcement. Also, she looks over bees, our apiaries, and that's something I kind of want to get into. I think that's kind of a neat little backyard hobby. Egg inspection. She also looks over the standardization. Say, for example, you're going to a gasoline station. Oh, this is on the weights and measures side, and you're pumping that gallon of gas. Well, guess what? You want to make sure that you're getting the most gas for the money that you're paying, right? So her people in her shop make sure that that does happen, and they do that through the weights and measures and calibration. She also oversees farmers markets, and we do also on the environmental health side, we have our inspectors that inspect those farmer markets annually. Some of her highlights that she brought forward to me is that some interesting statistics here are 95% of the county's acreage is considered ag use land, and this also includes the United States Forest Service and BLM. 219 and 88 acres in Calaveras are either ag or timber preserves. This equates to about 1 in 3 acres countywide. Our gross agricultural crop values across Calaveras went up 13% last year, so that's awesome. They went up almost 12 million. Let's see here. Our cattle, other livestock, rangeland, cannabis, walnuts, wine grapes are all over $1 million crops. We have 3 certified farmers markets in Angels Camp, Murphy's, and West Point, and over 30 certified producers in Calaveras. So this drives direct grower to our consumer sales and also allows residents to get to know our local producers. Last year in 2022, the team inspected 39 incoming nursery stock from out of the county and even out of the state for cleanliness, and inspected 274 parcels containing agricultural products from across the nation and beyond. They also performed 17 commercial pesticide-related inspections to ensure proper pesticide handling, environmental protection, and employee training and safety in 2022. They completed 714 measuring devices and 208 weighing device inspections to ensure accuracy for commercial devices such as gas pumps, water, supermarkets, cattle scales, grocery scales, and thus ensuring a fair and equitable marketplace. So the next department I want to talk about is near and dear to my heart. And first of all, I would like to thank Senator Alvarado Gil for the very beautiful gift that you'll be gifting today. And we'll see you later on at our animal shelter for a tour. So I'm really excited about that. It's very nice to meet you. And thank you from all of us and to our community as well. Thank you. So our Animal Services Department. This particular department and their operations are dear to everybody here. You know, we have a very few staff that work so hard day in and day out to make sure that our community is safe. Not only safe for the public health aspect, but also making sure that the animals that are neglected, that are abused, that are found. As a matter of fact, yesterday, just to share a little bit of what my day is like, I get a call at 5 o'clock asking if I can approve some funding over at Angels Camp for a dog that was just dropped off with a face full of quills. So, of course, you know, that's just something that we always have to. I always tell my people, and I tell my sons, you want to be able to respond accordingly and be provided with enough information so you can make the right decisions. But Animal Services is near and dear to my heart. We have groups and programs that are available to the public. Last year, we held several rabies and microchip clinics with over hundreds of free vaccines that were given to our community and their animals. I always call them, when I'm announcing our rabies and microchip clinics that are hosted by FOCUS, which is Friends of Animal Services of Calaveras County, I always want to give them kudos and all the volunteers that we have. We have over 60 volunteers at Animal Services, and we could not do it without them. They come in the morning, they walk our dogs, they clean cages, they do so much for us, and we would not be able to operate without them. So this year, we changed our hours of operation to better accommodate our public. We are now open at 9 o'clock, and we want to make sure that we give the people as much time as they can, even during lunch, to ensure that we are providing services and people can come in on their lunchtime. So that's one of the things that we have done in Animal Services. We've also this year initiated a feline foster program, and that has been very successful. I'm currently working on a dog and puppy foster program, and that's for the first time in all history of Animal Services. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I want to make sure that we succeed and that we're successful, and of course that we're providing our services to our community. We have enhanced our standards of care, which includes our adoption rate and decreased our euthanasia. As a matter of fact, we euthanize less than 10% of animals that come into our shelter, which makes us a no-kill shelter. So we've been doing that ever since I was appointed back in 2020. We've been really working hard to do this. We have an administration team in our board that completely supports us, so it's looking positive. Supervisor Tofinelli spoke about the shelter, and we're all on board to make it successful for our community. Oh, I'm getting yellow carded already. I still have 3 departments to go. Okay. Also, our animal service officers' field services are improving by getting our animal service vehicles equipped with a workstation. They didn't have a workstation, so we've been working on that. We're getting radios. We have to make sure that they are communicating not only between the officers and between administration, but also with our community, so our response time is faster, and we'll be able to provide the services to our community. We have also enhanced cleaning and sanitation protocols, and that has resulted in decrease of disease outbreaks. We recently had several hoarding cases. We had at one time 80 cats in our shelter. 25 of those cats were from a hoarding case, and we've also had several other animals that we've had to remove from households for hoarding cases. So we've been dealing with that, but with that comes disease. So we realized, you know, from an operational standpoint, that we have to increase our sanitation protocols, make sure that we are wearing the appropriate PPE so we're not cross-contaminating our kennels. We also have obtained and created livestock enclosures, which have enabled us to adequately provide for, because we just don't get dogs and cats. We get llamas, we get pigs, we get an emu every once in a while. We just had this really cute emu at our shelter a little while ago. And we get all kinds of animals. We get guinea pigs, rabbits, chickens, roosters, anything that you can think of. And we clearly and dearly love and care for each one of them. We also were able to obtain a UC Davis Corette shelter. medicine grant, which we have been supplying our new shelter medicines and also some cages in our new shelter because it is a little antiquated. The next thing I wanted to talk about, and how many more minutes do I have? 1 minute? Oh my gosh, okay, I've got 2 more departments to handle. Did I cover everything? I think I did. Environmental health. So environmental health is where I started off with, and that's where my background is. I love environmental health. We cover about 17 different programs, including solid waste, water wells, domestic water wells, small public water systems, solid waste, which includes the inspection of our landfills and our transfer stations, and also our underground storage tanks. So when you pull up to that gas station and lift that nozzle, I was just out on inspection yesterday at Perry Mart. So that's what we do. You know, we do all kinds of things, but I think most importantly, the thing that we want to put forward to our community is that we're here for you. You know, we're here if you have any questions, if you need resources, if you have any questions related to business operations. We're there to hold your hand, and we're there to make sure that you are succeeding in the business. So that's real important to us, and we're always available because I believe this is something that's ongoing. If you're not given the right information, you can't make the right decisions. So when you have all that information that you have, you put it in your coin box and you sparse it out. And when that happens, everybody, it's good all around for everybody because everybody's helping everybody to make those right decisions, and they're also informed. Last department I want to cover, and I only covered a few programs or environmental health, is our Air Pollution Control District. So the Calaveras County Air Pollution Control District is part of our Mountain County Air Basin, and it's recognized as a special district and is governed by the Calaveras County Air Pollution Control Board. The primary goal and objective is to protect public health by managing the county's air quality through educating the public and also enforcing the district rules. One of the department's highlights this year is the promotion of the wood smoke reduction program. And that program actually, for people that qualify, gives them a voucher of up to $5,000 to remove their old wood stove and also replace it with a cleaner burning wood stove. That includes inserts, piping, and all the different equipment associated with that. We received funds of over $179,790, something like that, to assist us with the wood stove replacement program, and that's open to Calaveras residents. This program provides funding of up to $5,000 for the replacement of the wood stove, so that's a good thing. The district also provides our public with information for obtaining burn permits and provides facts and also tips for burning clean. Throughout the season, we work with agencies to approve their smoke management plans. We work with BLM, East Bay Mud. We also work with the U.S. Department of Forestry and other entities to ensure that the prescribed burns that they are promoting and that they're going to be doing are clean, they're safe. We work with CAL FIRE all the time on these SMPs is what we fondly call them. So we do this through the PFER system, which is a prescribed fire incident reporting system, by approving these smoke management plans and ensuring that, of course, that we are working with all the different entities for prescribed burns. Some people have different ideas of what a prescribed burn is. Oh, I'm red carded. I remember that when I played soccer, but that wasn't a good thing. So anyhow, I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank Calaveras Chamber. I want to thank our administration, our board members, and everybody that is here, because I know that you have a vested and heartfelt interest in our community and making sure that we succeed. And I want to extend, again, my heartfelt thanks to Senator Alvarado Gil, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on. You guys need to stand for 1 second? You all doing good? Oh, stand. Stretch. You've been so good. And while you're standing and stretching, I want to give a quick plug to the chamber. So in the middle of your table, there is a brochure. If you are not a chamber member, there is a QR code on there. You can join from your phone. All right, thank you for stretching. All right, next up is Mike Minkler, Calaveras County Water District General Manager.
Thank you very much. Oops, I'm going to set this down here. All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you. Can you hear me? Thank you for having me. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event and Adventist Health. And it's just, yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and I appreciate the opportunity. I'm not here to talk about water rates. I'm really proud of the work that CCWD has done on that front over the last year, but I'm here to talk about CCWD's role in the success of Calaveras County. And I do want to briefly talk about the affordability crisis that is affecting all of our communities, whether it's utility bills, property insurance, gas, groceries, or just everyday supplies. It's getting harder and harder for a lot of people to keep up with cost increases. This is impacting businesses in Calaveras County, but most especially our low-income residents. And so I think it's on us, public agencies, to work with business groups, nonprofit organizations, and everybody that has a role in that process to do a better job of connecting people with any assistance that's available and to advocate for more effective assistance, connecting people with resources to the people who are in need. CCWD is absolutely committed to being a part of that effort. I think a good way to talk about CCWD's role in the state of the county is to put it in the context of the services that we provide. Water and wastewater services are the core functions that CCWD provides to our communities. We, of the 45,000 people in Calaveras County, we directly serve about 30,000. We have 6 separate water service areas and 13 separate wastewater service areas that are spread throughout the county, which presents very difficult operational challenges. Fortunately for us, we have phenomenal staff who are available 24/7, 365, regardless of the conditions, to make sure that the water and wastewater services our communities depend on and the fire suppression that our communities depend on is available. And I just can't say enough about the dedication of the CCWD staff. We saw it this winter was probably the best example. 19 atmospheric rivers, I think, and almost no interruptions in water and wastewater service. Most of our infrastructure is old, though, and it's not getting any younger. We have a long list of infrastructure projects that need to be completed, and the cost of those projects has increased exponentially in recent years. We have a very successful track record of bringing in grant funds and other sources of infrastructure funding, but there is a huge gap between the need and what the resources that we have. So there's still a big shortfall that we need to address. We need to find other ways to address those infrastructure issues. So that's when you think about the state of the county and CCWD's role in the county, that's my biggest concern. When it comes to making sure CCWD continues to provide the critical services that our communities depend on and that is necessary for any new development or growth, we have to live up to that challenge, and the resources are not up to the cost at this point. So that's my biggest concern when it comes to CCWD's ability to continue to serve our communities. CCWD also has county-wide water resources planning jurisdiction, and this is a much less visible component of what we do, but it's no less important. It's actually a big part of the reason CCWD exists. So back in 1946, a group of citizens got together because they had just seen what East Bay Mud did on the McCollum with very little benefit to in-county residents. And they didn't want that to happen on the Stanislaus. So they put the formation of a county-wide water district on the ballot. It passed with 93% of the county voters voting in favor for it. And then they immediately got to work on filing for water rights and starting the development of the North Fork Stanislaus Hydroelectric Project. And we benefit today greatly from the foresight that that generation had. And it's a story I think I need to do a better job of telling that story. The history of CCWD is really foundational to Calaveras County. We now manage water resources from the valley floor, where we overlie a critically overdrafted groundwater basin, to the headwaters of the 3 watersheds that we're blessed to have here in Calaveras County, the McCollum, the Calaveras River, and the Stanislaus River. It's a complex water portfolio, but maintaining local control over water resources has always been a high priority for Calaveras County. And we're very fortunate to have strong local partnerships with other water agencies. We're not the only water agency in town, as all of you know. And when I first moved to Calaveras County a little more than 10 years ago, it was rough. There was no trust between the water agencies, and we weren't working well together. And that has gradually changed over time for a lot of different reasons. But we work really well together now. We have really close partnerships with other local water agencies. We support each other, we share resources, we share information, and that's a big benefit for the county, because it's just a waste of resources if local agencies are fighting together when really our job is to serve the community. So I'm very pleased to report that the water agencies in Calaveras County are, I think, doing a great job of working well together. We're also the owner and the FERC licensee for 2 hydropower projects, New Hogan and the North Fork Stanislaus project. We're in the hydropower business for 2 reasons. One is for the water supply reliability that it provides, and also for the revenue that we generate from those projects. The North Fork project is by far the largest and the most complex of the 2. The FERC relicensing process is an enormous effort. It's probably, our licenses on both of those projects expire in 2032, which sounds like a long ways away, but in the FERC relicensing world, it's right around the corner. So we're already starting work on the relicensing effort, especially on the North Fork project, because of how complex of a project that is. It's also, we're in the midst of really critical contract negotiations to renegotiate the relationships we have on the North Fork project, and with the objective of making sure that we maximize the local benefit from that project. It's one of, we have a lot of high priorities at CCWD, but that's one of the highest because it has a huge impact on Calaveras County for the long term. There's a lot at stake. It's a very complex negotiation, and the next license term could extend out to 2082, which is hard to fathom. But we need to make sure over these next 10 years that we've positioned CCWD and Calaveras County to get as much benefit out of that project as possible. And it's our project, it's our water resources, and so we have a lot of leverage in that negotiation in that respect, but it's also just critical that we make sure that we retain as much local benefit as possible. So you'll be hearing a lot more about hydropower relicensing in the coming years. Utica is also going through it. Calaveras Public Utilities District. Somehow all of the FERC licenses in Calaveras County lined up to expire around the same time. So early 2030s is going to be a very interesting time in the hydropower industry in Calaveras County. One last aspect of CCWD that I'd like to briefly touch on is, like many Mountain County water agencies, we've been increasingly active in the forest management realm to protect our watersheds and to decrease the risk of severe wildfire to our communities and to our critical infrastructure. We're involved in fuel thinning projects in all 3 of our watersheds. But I want to highlight the biomass power project that we hope will start construction later this year in West Point on CCWD property. It's a phenomenal project. I could spend a lot of time talking about it, but I'll get red carded, and as a youth soccer coach, I wouldn't be able to go back to practice later and admit that to my team. But the project is really exciting. There's a really impressive local volunteer effort that deserves some sort of perseverance award for all that they went through to get the entitlements to develop that project. It's on, as I mentioned, it's on CCWD property, and it's located right next to our wastewater treatment plant up there. And what we've realized in working with the developer over time is just how many benefits there are to co-locating biomass power project with water infrastructure, because it can help reduce CCWD's electricity costs. We can divert our biosolids, which we now truck to the Bay Area, because that's the closest landfill that will take them. We can divert those biosolids to the biomass power plant. And we generate lease revenue off the projects. As I mentioned, it's CCWD property. So that it'll help us to reduce our costs. It'll help generate some revenue for CCWD. We're going to provide recycled water to the project to offset their water consumption impacts. There's just so many different layers of benefits to a project like this, in addition to the sustained source of funding that it'll provide for forest management, fuel thinning projects around a very a severe fire risk area. So there's just the layers go on, and from the business perspective, the economic boost of having really, a new project like that in West Point with highly skilled labor, it's going to create new jobs. It's going to be an economic boost for the community as well. So in working with the developer on this over the last few years, we think this should be a model that should be replicated throughout the Sierras. We're already looking at a second project potentially in Arnold. So I'm keeping my remarks brief today, but I hope what I wanted to convey is just how integral the services that CCWD provides are to Calaveras County's communities. But we tend to operate in the background, and most of what we do is not highly visible, but it's critically important, that the fire hydrant has fire pressure behind it when the fire truck pulls up, that the communities that we serve have water and wastewater services, and that we do our work in protecting the water resources of Calaveras County. And so with that, I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys again for having me. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. Okay, last but not least, our sponsor, Doug Archer, CEO of Mark Twain Medical Center.
Thank you again. So over the next 3 hours, I plan to educate you guys on healthcare finance. Smart. I would run, Gary. No, of course not. Just want to share a few updates. I know we're pressing on Friday morning. I'm sure you all have some things to take care of and get your weekend rolling. So I've got some exciting things to share, but before I do that, because I want to close on a good note, just kind of want to recognize everybody in the room. Let's just say challenging times, right? We're through that other thing that, as a healthcare professional, I've talked about way too much. I'm not even going to say it. We all know what I'm talking about. Now we're entering into a kind of a financial storm across, I think, every industry. We've got challenges with workforce. We've got challenges with costs increasing. I mean, I can tell you from a hospital standpoint, our utilities have gone up over $1 million. Gone up over $1 million. So we can relate. As I mentioned in the beginning here, the only way we're going to get through this is by banding together and activities like this, and connecting and sharing and finding ways where we can help each other out. So remain optimistic about the future. I'm sure we will soldier on and get through this. So on to some happy things. We got some great things going on with staffing. Actually, we have a new GYN starting here in a couple of months. Our clinics are basically fully staffed. We're actually running into a space problem where we can't hire any more doctors because we have no more space. So good problem to have, I guess. Our volumes have been increasing quite a bit in the clinics especially. We've got some great relationships and some great I would say, leverage points being part of a giant system, which is called Common Spirit. Most of you probably are more familiar with Dignity Health, which is a piece of that organization. But through being part of a large system, we can leverage a lot. I'm sure many of you are familiar with St. Joseph's in Stockton, big facility, our brother's facility in Stockton. They have residency programs, which is essentially physician training programs. And we will be a training site going forward for family practice, which is huge. Not something we could pull off on our own. We don't offer enough services to provide the breadth of training you would need to be, have a bona fide residency program. So what we're doing is a rural residency track for those individuals out of Stockton. We'll be hosting about, they do like a 3-month rotation, like an elective class basically. So we'll be hosting 2 for each of those 3-month rotations, so roughly 8 per year. So we'll try to get their names out, their pictures out, make them feel happy and make them feel comfortable in the county. What we want is for them to love it and stay here and want to choose to work here later. So yeah. We also have an RN preceptor program that we'll be launching about summer when the nurses will graduate. Another great opportunity to train new staff, give them kind of a home and some precepting, some mentoring, and hopefully increase retention, recruitment and retention of those important staff. A lot of investment going into the building. We have a surgery refresh program thanks to a very generous donation from the Wings of Freedom, the Higgins family, $7.5 million donation to refurbish our entire surgical suite. That's huge. Healthcare financials, although we are doing pretty good, we had a positive year this last fiscal year. There's no way we generate enough money to spend $7.5 million on our surgery program. So to have that support from our community, from our foundation, is really tremendous. We've got a few of our foundation folks here in the room. I'm getting a funny look from Rick, so I won't point out Rick, Randy, and Larry over there from our foundation. But yes, we are doing fairly well. State of healthcare is pretty rough, to be perfectly blunt. If you read the paper, stop. It's a bad idea. If you want to read up on healthcare, a great kind of a, I guess it's a daily, is Becker's Healthcare. Kind of a short and sweet, pretty condensed, factual read. It comes out every day. And every day you can see rural hospitals in particular closing across the entire nation. It's pretty scary. I think we're in pretty good shape. Again, being part of this big organization of Common Spirit gives us a lot of backing and a lot of support. But the average operating margin, since we're a Chamber of Commerce and business-oriented folks, average operating margin for a hospital in California is about -2%. Think about that for a minute, negative. So how are you going to replace expensive equipment and those sorts of things? So we basically broke even last year. We were slightly positive, not quite 1% margin. So we were in pretty good shape. And then, so I guess a couple other things I wanted to mention is we've got some cool events coming up, right? So in the fall, we always host a health fair. That will be occurring September 30th. It'll be at the hospital on the backside near the helipad if you go around Mountain Ranch Road. We'll be offering flu shots. We have the $45 blood draws, basically a chem panel and labs. We'll have a lot of community partners out there sharing their information. I think there's flyers on the table. If you're interested, it's 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. on September 30th. So hope to see you guys there. Kind of closing comment really is what I opened up with, is about the success. Our success really depends on the success of everybody in this room and everybody in this entire county. Although we're a large healthcare provider in the county, we are not the only one. I see some of my friends from the healthcare district over there. of course, the MACT Clinic, Adventist Health. I can tell you if we're all doing everything we can possibly do to take care of this county, we will still fall short. That's just how it is. Resources are very tough, but I think if we all band together, which I think we do pretty well, if we all partner together and lean in together, I think we can make this work. My ask of this group, and share with all of your friends and family, please, our success at Mark Twain depends on you guys. We need to hear from you guys. We need to hear from our patients and our community about how we're doing and what we need to do better. So I feel kind of like I live at Mark Twain Medical Center. I'm easy to find. You can call the hospital, you can stop by the hospital. Feedback is hugely important for us. And leaders, most of us are leaders in the room, we don't really know what's going on the front line most days. So it's very important for us to get that feedback so we can make the changes and help us make better decisions in the boardroom. So if you guys have any feedback for the hospital, any feedback for our clinics, please don't hesitate to stop by, give me a call, let us know how we're doing, let us know how we can improve. We take this job very seriously. We know we're the only hospital in the county. We know we're the only ER in the county. And we want to make it your choice, not your only choice. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic back to Sherry. Thanks for the time to speak with you guys this morning. Happy Friday, and looking forward to the fall weather. So hope you guys are too. Thank you.
Thank you all so very much. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you for your time. Thank you guys for being so patient. One last plug for the chamber. If you have not gotten your Calaveras-opoly game, we are selling them. Great Christmas gift, and you can learn all about the history of Calaveras while you play. So if you're interested, you can contact any of the chamber members. We have a couple that are out there in the foyer. So safe travels, and thank you again for coming.